What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. This is my betting breakdown for UFC Vegas 29. We have the Korean Zombie going against Dan Ige. I do have 8 bets we'll talk about. And as always, we're going to break down this card from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you do want a more further in-depth breakdown and analysis, go check out my full card breakdown and prediction video that I posted on Tuesday. And I also did a live stream on Friday. But yeah, 8 bets, not the best card in the world for betting, but I do think there's some spots that I do like. And I say we get into it. Before we do so, if you can leave a like on the video. Also subscribe if you have not yet so you not miss out on the other content throughout the channel. And yeah, so I say we get into it. So we'll start the first fight of the night. This is going to be my first bet of the night. Laura Procopio, I do have her minus 121 for 1.5 units. She's going to be my biggest play of the night. Kind of small card for me, but I do think Procopio gets it done against Casey O'Neill. I think she's the lesser green out of the two. I think she has multiple advantages. I favor her in the striking. I favor her in the cardio. I favor her in the striking defense. I favor her on the mat. The only thing I consider favoring Casey O'Neill in would be the potential wrestling, but even then, I think her wrestling is getting a little overrated because of that Shanna Dobson performance. We got to remember that prior to that Shanna Dobson fight, Dobson came in there with a 0% takedown defense. Shanna Dobson, somebody that has now since retired after that fight as well, which is something to think about. But I do like Procopio. I think she has solid wrestling herself. She was able to get 7 takedowns against Molly McCann. I've seen Casey O'Neill taken down very easily on the regional scene. I've seen her reversed as well. And I just think Procopio at this point is the better fighter. You know, maybe Casey O'Neill has the higher ceiling potentially, but I think at this point right now, Procopio is a better fighter. She's 25 years old. Casey O'Neill's 23. I think, they both have, pretty high ceilings, honestly. But at this point, I will pick Procopio to win. And I was kind of looking at the submission prop on FanDuel Sportsbook. It was like plus 1,200, which is crazy at one point. But I'm kind of leaning more towards the Procopio by decision. But honestly, a submission wouldn't surprise me, which is on most books like plus 650, plus 700. But ultimately, I do like her straight at minus 121. I think she has multiple ways to win, whether it is a decision, a submission, maybe even a TKO as well. But I do like her straight at minus 121 there. Next, we have Joaquim Silva going against Ricky Glenn. I was kind of looking at the under 2.5 rounds, but the only thing that's kind of stopping me here is going to be the durability of Ricky Glenn, who has never, ever been knocked out. But yeah, the number's very tempting, plus 180. It was like plus 200 earlier in the week, but some money's coming in on it. I decided to pass. Even Silva by knockout, plus 475 is not a terrible look. Like I said, Ricky Glenn has never been knocked out, but we have seen him hurt. We have seen him drop. So maybe that first knockout loss does come after a 3-year layoff. It's just not something I really want to put my money on. And kind of a hard fight to put your money on when we have not seen these guys in a while. Ricky Glenn nearly a 3-year layoff, and Silva nearly a 2-year layoff. I think the best idea here is to pass, but the pick will be Joaquim Silva. Speaking of passing, Josh Parisian going against Roy Martinez was kind of tempted on the Parisian money line because he's going to have those physical advantages, a big height and a big reach advantage. But it's at the end of the day, it's a low level heavyweight fight. Parisian going to have a nice volume advantage as well, and I gotta pick him here. It's just the gas tank definitely concerns me. And the durability of Roy Martinez concerns me as well. Martinez is very, very durable. That's why we're probably seeing a lot of money coming in on that over 1.5, which at the beginning of the week, it was like minus 150. Now it's like over minus 200, and I definitely agree with that. I see this fight getting extended. I think Parisian has a good chance to even win this fight by decision, which is plus 270. But I'm going to, pass here. It's a low-level fight. I don't really want to put my money on it. But as far as the pick goes, I will take Parisian to win. Chaos Williams, Matt Semmelsberger. I do like Chaos Williams to get it done. I like him to get it done by knockout. Semmelsberger has been knocked out, once in his pro career. He was knocked out in the amateurs as well against William Knight. Chaos Williams, very durable, never been finished himself, which is good to see. As far as the money line, I don't really love it that much, minus 140. I think if he does not get that knockout, it could be a very close fight. Semmelsberger probably has him with the volume. I think Semmelsberger can even mix in takedowns as well. So if Williams does not get the knockout, I do have concerns there. But yeah, plus 150, Williams by knockout, not horrible. Semmelsberger by decision, plus 300. Those would be kind of the two spots I'm looking at. But ultimately, nothing on this fight officially. But I will pick Williams to win, and I'll pick him to win by knockout. Yeah, next we have Joanna Jandiroba going against Kanako Murata, a fight that I'm really looking forward to because it is a clash of styles. We have the Murata, who is a very good wrestler, and Jandiroba, who is a very good grappler. Black belt in BJJ, 13 out of her 16 wins coming by submission. And I made this comparison, I think it was on my live stream, where it feels like the Bartos, Fabinsky, Andre Muniz fight, where Bartos is going to want to get this fight down to the mat. That's his style. That's what he does. And Muniz is something that's very comfortable on his back and very comfortable on the mat as a whole. And I kind of see the same thing here. Murata is going to want to take this fight down to the mat, and that's going to be Joanna Jandiroba's world. And I do think she has potential to find a submission here. Like I said, 13 out of 16 wins for Jandiroba by submission. She's an absolute wizard on the mat. Murata has been submitted in her only loss, and we've seen her put in a ton of bad spots outside of the UFC as well. And, I was kind of thinking to myself, man, if Jandiroba gets her in these same spots, the fight is probably over. It's going to be, the best. This is going to be the best grappler that Murata has faced, and honestly, by a pretty decent margin. So I'm going to take Jandiroba. I'm going to take her one by submission, and I kind of think that Jandiroba is a little bit on the sub or bust side. It's hard to win a fight off your back, and I do think that's where she'll be the majority of the time. But I do think she'll have 15 minutes to find that submission, and I do think she gets it. Ultimately, I did place a half-unit shot on Jandiroba by submission at plus 320. I think that, is way off because if she wins, it is probably by submission. If we're on the Murata side, I think Murata by decisions is the way to go, which is plus 175. Not a terrible line there as well. Next, we have Alexa Kmore going against, we'll call him Nick here. And Kmore, he is the biggest favorite on the card, I do believe. And, I'll pick him to win. It's just there could be potential improvements from the Nick side, who is only 25 years old. We have not seen him in 2 years. And, from his tape, he looks decent. It's just the level of competition is very, very bad. So it's kind of hard to gauge where he's really at. And once he did take a step up in competition against Saburbag Safarov, he got dominated. So I'll take Kmore. He's been the more active fighter. I do think he's going to have a massive speed advantage on the feet as well. So as long as he does not get taken down, I do think he wins. But there are a ton of question marks in this fight. I would not recommend betting this fight whatsoever. I would leave Kmore out of the parlays. There's not even any props I'd look at as well. So give me Kmore for the win, but no bet for me. All right, Diego Lima going against Matt Brown. And I'm kind of looking violent in this spot. We have both guys who definitely have durability issues. Matt Brown has been finished 13 times in his 18 losses. 10 by submission, 3 by knockout. The guy's chin's not there. The durability's not there. And as far as Diego Lima, has been finished in 5 out of 8 losses, 4 coming by knockout. Definitely a little bit on the chinny side as well. So, yeah, if Matt Brown wins, it's probably inside the distance. If Diego Lima wins, honestly, it's probably inside the distance as well. I see this fight finishing. And ultimately, I did take a shot on the under earlier in the week. I got the under at plus 135. I have 1 unit on it. Matt Brown, definitely a finisher, about a 91% finish rate. Diego Lima, not really considered a finisher, about a 50% finish rate, but with the durability issues of Matt Brown, and especially him at 40 years old, I think if Lima does win, it is probably inside the distance. And if Matt Brown wins, it definitely is inside the distance by knockout. So I do like the under here. I'm looking at violence. I do think somebody has potential to go down here. But as far as picking a winner, I guess I'll go Lima, just because Brown's like 40, has not been looking great at all. Durability issues, but I would never lay minus 180 on Diego Lima ever. So give me the under at plus 135 there. All right, Bruno Silva going against Wellington Turman. I do have 2 bets in this fight. I have Bruno Silva, Wellington Turman, under 2.5 rounds, minus 125, 1.25 units. And then also took a little shot, 0.25 units on Turman by submission. So I feel like this fight goes one of 2 ways. Either Turman's able to get the takedowns and find a submission. Silva has been submitted in every single one of his losses, which is very interesting considering Turman is a legit black belt. Or the other way it happens is, Turman does not get the takedown and then he probably gets knocked out. Silva is very dangerous, has a ton of power. I think it's like an 88% finish rate, something crazy like that, all by knockout. And we just saw Turman get knocked out by Andrew Sanchez. So, I think the under is probably the way to go here. I do think someone gets finished, whether it is Turman getting the submission or Silva getting the knockout. I do lean towards Turman getting that takedown and getting the sub, which is plus 550. Have a quarter unit on that. But ultimately, I do need this fight to finish one way or another. But the pick will be Turman. I do think Turman has a very good chance to give Silva his 6th submission loss. All right, next we have Sung-Woo Choi going against Julian Erosa. Choi minus 140. I was tempted to bet Choi straight a couple weeks ago, sitting at like minus 110. I decided to pass because I feel like if this does go to decision, it could be a very close fight just based off of the volume, the pressure of Julian Erosa. But I think someone gets finished in this fight. I do have the under in this fight, plus 120, 1 unit on it. Erosa is somebody that seems like kind of like a killer be killed fighter, where when he wins, it's typically by finish. And when he loses, it's typically by knockout. He has 4 knockout losses. He's been dropped a handful of times. We've seen Sung-Woo Choi even finished in 2 of his 3 losses. So I do think this is going to be a war, as are most Julian Erosa fights. And I think someone does get put down. I'm leaning towards Sung-Woo Choi by knockout, just because of how hittable Julian Erosa is. But I could see an Erosa finish as well. So I stayed away from the money line of Sung-Woo Choi. I ended up taking the under 2.5 as well. The Choi by knockout prop is very tempting, plus 275, because of how chinny Erosa is, how hittable he is, and Choi can definitely crack. Choi has not shown a knockout yet thus far in the UFC, but if he's going to get it, this is probably the fight to get that knockout. So the pick, Sung-Woo Choi, the bet is under 2.5, plus 121 unit on that. Next, we have Marlon Vera going against Davey Grant. I am on the Marlon Vera side, but I did play him inside the distance. I got him at plus 175. Inside the distance, I do have half a unit on that. It's really hard to see Marlon Vera winning a decision in general. When he does go to the scorecards, he gets 1-6 in those decisions. But yeah, he's a finisher. He's finished 9 out of his 10 wins in the UFC. He's very dangerous, and we have seen Davey Grant finished in all 4 of his losses, all 4 coming by submission. If you are on the Davey Grant side, which everybody seems to be for the most part, I'd recommend that decision prop. Plus 440 seems pretty crazy. He's not going to knock out Marlon Grant for the most part, or most likely, because of how durable Marlon Vera is, one of the best chins in the UFC. He's probably not going to submit Marlon Vera as well. I think if Davey Grant wins, it is going to be a very close decision, which is plus 440. So I'd be looking there if you are on the Grant side. But I'm personally on Marlon Vera. I do think he gets a finish. I think he gives Grant his 5th finish loss. Grant, not the most durable guy in the world. He has been dropped in his last 2 fights. He got dropped by Martin Day, and he got dropped by Jonathan Martinez. I think if Marlon Vera drops him, I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. And yeah, give me Marlon Vera inside the distance. I was tempted to add another half unit on the inside the distance, but I'm fine with the half unit shot there. Was also kind of tempted on his money line as well, but I was hoping it would come down a little bit more, and decided to pass on the money line because I do think if he wins, it is probably inside the distance. Hard to see Marlon Vera winning a decision. I mean, I think he can. It's just he has some terrible luck when it goes to the scorecard. So give me Marlon Vera, and give me Marlon Vera inside the distance. Really stayed away from the knockout or submission prop because I feel like it could be either one. I feel like Marlon Vera has a ton of power. Grant's, doesn't have the best chin in the world, and I feel like the submission can be there as well. But I just took the inside the distance to play it safe. All right, Sergey Spivak, Alexei Oleinik. Typically you want to... My bad. Typically you want to, play these under 1.5s in the Alexei Oleinik fights. I just have a bad feeling about it here. I feel like this fight can get extended. But it's hard to pick Alexei Oleinik at this point in his career. He's like 44 years old. Has about 4 or 5 minutes of gas, if that. I think Spivak wins. I just am not sure on when he wins. I do think it can get into the later rounds. I don't know. It's an interesting fight because Spivak is somebody that typically wants to get this fight down to the mat. And do you really want to get this fight down to the mat against Alexei Oleinik? So that's going to be interesting to see. But I feel like if Spivak really wanted to, he could just keep this on the feet for 15 minutes and outpoint Oleinik. I think Spivak by decision is interesting, plus 695. Everybody expects this fight to finish, and it probably does, but man, plus 695. Spivak's not one of these murderous power punchers like a Ngannou, like a Walt Harris, like an Overeem, like guys like that. I don't know if he has the power to put out Alexei Oleinik, at least on the feet. So yeah, I could see this getting extended. The only thing that would concern me about the decision prop is how terrible Oleinik's gas tank is. So I don't know. I'm going to pick Spivak. I don't really love the money line all that much, but I will pick him to win here. And then the main event, Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie going against Dan Ige. And yeah, I did break this fight down. I did a main event prediction video with Uncle Weezy on Monday. And just to sum it up, I think it's an interesting fight because, you know, you take a look at the level of competition and it is way in favor of the Korean Zombie, which makes it kind of hard here. And, you know, Zombie did not look great in his last fight against Brian Ortega. And I hate, you know, writing off fighters after just one bad performance. I did that against Ponzinibbio. He came back and burned me because, you know, it was the same Ponzi. He had that bad performance against the Leech, but he came back and he looked like the same old Ponzi. And kind of thinking the same here, like if the Korean Zombie shows up, the same one that fought, you know, Frankie Edgar, the same one that fought, you know, Moicano, the same one that fought Yair Rodriguez, I think he wins this fight pretty handily. It's just, is that same Korean Zombie still there? So there are some things I want to point out. The move to fight ready for the Korean Zombie, I do like that quite a bit. He was talking about in his last fight against Ortega where, you know, he wasn't really motivated for the fight. He wasn't training properly. And I think the move to fight ready is definitely a great sign there. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to take one last shot on the Korean Zombie here. Like I said, I don't want to write off a fighter just for one bad performance. And we got to think, like, that was against Brian Ortega, who's now fighting for the title. And in that fight, the Korean Zombie was minus 200 against Ortega. So if that fight never happened, like, what would the line be in this fight? I mean, I think Korean Zombie would be around the minus 200, minus 230, minus 240 if that Ortega fight never happened. I just think that fight has left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, including mine, because it was not a great performance, but I do think there's a chance he bounces back. And if we do get that same Zombie, I think he does win pretty handily. But the hard part is maybe he's you know, on his way out. Maybe he's done. But hey, he's 34 years old. I do think he has a couple more years left in him. And I do think he does beat Dan Ige. Interesting line move on this one. We now see Zombie at plus 120. And at that point, I had to take my shot. I do have one unit on Korean Zombie plus 120. I was going to pass on it when it was a pick of minus 110 each way. But, you know, plus 120, I got to take that. Because, man, if Korean Zombie shows up and he's on his game, I do think he's a very good chance to win this fight. Korean Zombie inside the distance, plus 280. It's not horrible. I think if he does win, there is a good chance that it is inside the distance. The only problem with that is Dan Ige is very tough. Never been knocked out, never been submitted, but there is a first for everything. But ultimately, I do like that money line shot on Chan Sung Jung. And I was kind of looking at the fight doesn't get to decision minus 125. That's not horrible as well. Typically, we see Korean Zombie fights finishing. For the most part, he is a really good finisher, like close to like a 90% finish rate for Zombie. But I do like that one unit money line shot on him at plus 120. The move to fight ready tells me that he still wants it, and we'll see. I mean, he could be done. He very well could be done, but in plus 120, I gotta take the shot there. All right, so that's about it. I'll quickly go over my bets. I will be posting them on Twitter and Instagram as well. Korean Zombie, plus 120, 1 unit on it. Laura Procopio, minus 121, 1.5 units on it. Matt Brown, Diego Lima, under 2.5 rounds, plus 135, 1 unit on it. Rosa Choi, under 2.5 rounds, plus 120, 1 unit on it. Bruno Silva Turman, under 2.5 rounds, minus 125, 1.25 units on it. Turman wins by submission, plus 550, quarter unit on it. Marlon Vera wins inside the distance, plus 175, half a unit on it. Jana Riba wins by submission, plus 320, half a unit on it. So, yeah, that's about it. Should be a fun card. Decent amount of action. Kind of a light-ish card for me in terms of the unit sizes, but it should be a fun card. You guys can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting my bets there. I'll be also going live 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start today, and I will see you guys there. Good luck on your bets. I know a lot of people are going the other way. I know a lot of people have bets on Dan Ige, and I know a lot of people do have bets on Davey Grant as well. Good luck to you as well, and let's make some money on UFC Vegas 29. See you guys.